just let you know what we're planning on doing today. We're going to start off with making sure that you have all the information you need to maximize your LinkedIn profile. They are recording this, so I will tell you that I've had people tell me that the amount of information we go through is almost like drinking from a fire hose. So you might not get the chance to enter all the stuff into your profile while we're doing it, but the video recording, you can go back to it and look at it, and hopefully that'll get you to be able to go through it as well. When we're done with the profile, we're going to start looking about how to look for jobs and how to apply for jobs and use LinkedIn to make cold leads into warm leads. And at the end, if we have time, we're going to start talking a little bit about how to post and engage people who can make a difference for you in terms of finding jobs and things like that. Now, the one thing I want to say is, for me, it's very important for this to be interactive. What I miss the most, absolute most, about in-person workshops was the fact that people can raise their hand and ask questions. Now, a lot of people do Q&A at the end, and you have time for that. But I'm going to stop, and every 4 or 5 minutes, probably means I need a drink break also, but I'll stop every 4 or 5 minutes, and I want you guys to ask whatever questions you have. I do this as a live demo intentionally, so that I can show you the functionality of LinkedIn. So you guys asking questions does make it better, and I'll try to pull you in with a couple other things there. Does that make sense? So we're going to start with LinkedIn profile. To me, a great session has a lot of questions, a lot less of me speaking. So let's try and make this as engaging as we can. Okay. So this is your LinkedIn, the LinkedIn profile, and everybody should be able to get into they have it on their laptops. And where you want to go is the edit mode of your profile. The edit mode of your profile is where all the magic happens. You can make the changes you need to make in order to maximize your account. Now, the easiest way to get into the edit mode is simply click on your picture over here, and that's going to take you into the edit mode. But what I want to normalize is a secondary way of going in. A little me button over here, click on that, and click View Profile. The reason I recommend this is because there's settings and also some other things over here that you can access that you cannot access via the photo. So once I go over here, this takes me into the edit mode of my profile. Question?
Click again.
Yeah, so if you click the Me button and View Profile.
So my network, right?
So it might be a little different on your phone. Phones could be a little different. Just the whether you're using Apple or Android, sometimes their format is a little bit different. So it might be hard to follow along that way. So this is basically the desktop version. But a lot of it's going to be very similar, but some of the functionality isn't available on mobile. Okay, great question, thank you. So you go to View Profile, and this gives you the opportunity to edit your profile. I had a client a couple of weeks ago was very, very concerned because he was afraid that anybody could access this and change their profile. Obviously, this is password protected. Only you have access to making the changes here on your LinkedIn profile. Okay, so if I were to ask you guys, looking at my LinkedIn profile, what are the most important parts of the LinkedIn profile? Yes?
Your picture.
Picture is absolutely one of the top 3. Absolutely. Why is that so important? Psychology people, anybody? Anybody want to say?
It's like a first impression.
First impression, people get to see you, but you know something, when I see somebody, I feel more connected to them than when I just see a blank screen or nothing. So I feel like I know a person much better when I see their photo. There are 3 things on the LinkedIn profile that I call the LinkedIn triumvirate. Any history people here? No? The Roman triumvirate? Anyway, you can look it up anyway, but anyway, the LinkedIn triumvirate is 3. The 3 most important things to me are your photo, and your name, and then this right here, which is your headline. And that's where we're going to start talking about those 3 and how to maximize each of those. Okay. So what kind of photos should you have up here? Yes? So
something friendly but professional.
Friendly but professional. How would you define that?
Well, you know, you're smiling in that photo, but you're wearing a suit, so it shows that you're not, you're easy to talk to, but you're also serious about the game.
Can we get this guy some extra pizza? I like what you said. That's good. Thank you. I think that's absolutely perfect. Absolutely. You want to be friendly, you want to be approachable, and this is how you edit the photo. You click on the photo itself, you go to View or Edit Photo, and then the Edit button right over here allows you to zoom, adjust, straighten, you can use filters. Whatever it is that makes you feel friendly and approachable is what I recommend that you put in there, and you can move things around, make it exactly the way that you want. But I wear a suit because most of the circles that I work in, people wear suits. You think suits are the only thing you can wear here?
No.
Tell me more.
Well, it depends on the industry you're working for.
Exactly.
I can't really I don't know what people normally wear in other industries because I think a suit's a safe bet, but it doesn't have to be a suit. It just has to exuberate professionality.
Right. So what I usually advise people to do, if you're going to a networking event and the head of the company that you will be looking to work at was going to be there, what kind of clothes would you be wearing? So that'd be very different if you're looking to work in an investment bank versus working at Alphabet or Google or something like that. Because if you're working at Google, you're probably wearing much more casual clothes. It also could make a difference. Any arts people, performing arts people? Well, there's such a small group of that today. Okay, good. So I prepared all that stuff, but anyway. But it'd be very different.
Visual arts?
Visual arts? No? All right. But it might be what I was going to say is it might be very different whether you want to actually go into a networking event at the Kennedy Center for Performing Arts or one of my favorite haunts from my childhood, the Second City in Chicago. So if you're looking for a job in either one of those, you might be wearing different clothes depending on which one you would go to. But definitely get a professional headshot photo. If you can't get a professional headshot, white background, wearing the clothes, make sure it looks nice. Cameras are very easy to get nowadays. It's a lot easier than it used to be.
I have
Yes, please.
one quick plug. At the Job Internship Fair on August 29th, we're going to have a photographer team.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
By the way, that's worth the price of admission. It's worth coming anyway, but get that photo. It is so important, like you said, because people really
free.
embrace and engage you much better. Question? Yes, please.
Just a comment, also,
Sure.
if you have an iPhone, portrait mode is really good for like
Mm.
professional looking pictures, because it like focuses on you and
Oh,
kind of
cool.
blurs out the background.
There we go. That's something I need to know. Good. Yeah, very good. Yeah, even against them, I think it's better to have somebody else take it
Yeah.
because selfies usually don't work as well because you get the angle. Take it against the white background. I think that works just fine. So just moving our way through here, we're going to go on to the rest of the LinkedIn triumvirate. And the way to edit this is to go to this little pencil right over here. If you click on this, it's going to take us into the name and a couple other things. Now, name might seem very simple, but it's actually a little more complicated than people think. Some people want to put, for example, their degree after their name. If I put Chaim Shapiro, MED, Master's in Education, or BCC, Board Certified Coach, I personally recommend against doing that. Anybody know why? Yes.
Is it pretentious?
Some people might see it as pretentious, but I think LinkedIn itself is a pretentious kind of thing because it's about promoting yourself. But no, it's a good point. But the reason I don't do it is LinkedIn could give us the ability to do that, and they don't for a reason. So LinkedIn should give us be able to say Dr. or Mr. or but they don't. So I think we want to use the fields for what they're intended. Plus, when you become an advanced user and you start tagging people, we'll talk about this a little bit later. If you have a bunch of tags and things after your name, it makes it harder for people to tag you in posts, especially if they're not engaged in that post. So that's something you want to try to avoid. Another thing they added just recently is additional name as opposed to former name. Additional name is a great change because not everybody has a former name. Former name was more like if they're a married name, so you can put your former name so that people are able to find you. But I work with a lot of Orthodox Jewish students whose Hebrew name might be Chaim, but have a secular name Howard, but none of their friends know them by that name. So when they put Howard Shapiro on the LinkedIn profile, nobody who knows them sees it. So they simply put the name Chaim right in over here, and that will show up next to their name so people will see that it's actually them. Okay? On mobile, by the way, my friend on mobile, if you want to put, actually there's a name pronunciation tool you can add to LinkedIn. What is what? Oh, sorry. So if you push this little button right over here, you can only set this up on your mobile device. And let's see if you can hear the sound here. Or not.
I think the computer sound.
The sound is off, that's what it is. I put it off because I actually clicked on it. Let's try that one more time.
Chaim.
There we go. So if you have a name like Chaim, it can be very difficult for people to pronounce. That gives people the opportunity to hear your name and be able to utilize it. Now, one thing I've seen, and we'll get you guys' thoughts on this. So they give you 10 seconds to record your name. So some people would say, Chaim Shapiro, LinkedIn expert, you'll hire me for all your LinkedIn needs. What do you guys think about that as opposed to saying your name? Yes?
It's like too much. They'll already see that stuff on your profile, and you're just
Right.
introducing your name.
I think it is too much, yeah. Because again, we want to use things for what they're intended. And plus, if you have a name like Chaim, and people are doing sales pitches via their LinkedIn name pronunciation tool, that takes away from people like Chaim who need people to actually hear that and be able to utilize it. So a lot of people do it. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I don't like the idea because it takes away from the power of what it adds to people who really do need to have that name pronunciation tool with names that people are not as familiar with in secular culture. Any other thoughts about that? Okay, we're going to go back in over here, and we're going to continue down to the headline. Now, the LinkedIn headline to me is your LinkedIn elevator pitch. You guys know what an elevator pitch is?
Yeah.
Want to say what it is?
My mom taught me, so it's like basically a pitch you got that's like shrunk down to like 1 minute or 30 seconds. So in case you meet like a important person in an elevator, you can like, well, not literally an elevator, but somewhere quick.
Yeah.
You can just give them your pitch and see if they're interested.
Right, that's exactly right. Basically, an elevator pitch is who you are and why people need to pay attention to you in 45 seconds or less. So if you walked into an elevator and President Obama was standing next to you and you had 45 seconds with him, what are you going to say to him? He says, I got to pass this guy. What's that? Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking. What are you going to say to him that he wants to pass your resume on to other people? So I think this is the opportunity online to have your LinkedIn elevator pitch. You need to say who you are and what you're able to do for people. Now, saying that you're a student at Purchase is important, but does that sell me to an employer? It could be secondary, tertiary. What do you bring to the table? You were saying that, for example, you're an aspiring psychology major with experience as a child life specialist and some other skills. That tells me who you are and what you're bringing to the table. That's what I want to see. So if I was a potential boss and I saw your name and I saw your photo, and I'm like, oh, this person can provide graphic design people that know SQL, that know C++, things like that, really are able to make you sort of express yourself better. You see here that I tend to believe big blocks of text don't work well, so I separate different ideas just by cutting and pasting things in between that. But this is going to be something you need to work on. It's not something you can come up with in 2 or 3 minutes. Think about what defines you, and then utilize that space for putting that information down so that you're able to use it. Definitely think it's worthwhile to spend a lot of time on this, because this is, again, probably the most important real estate and social media for professionals. Any questions about the headline? Okay. Okay, industry. So mine is higher education, but these are searchable. So I'm just going to put in, expected that to come up with something. That was weird. All right. Anyway, I'm not sure why that's not working. Let's try, there we go. So you can just choose those, just so you know. LinkedIn doesn't have as many of them as they should, but they're actually saying that right now they're currently in the process of updating these. And what they're going to be doing is they're going to be adding another several hundred, so hopefully psychology will be one that they add sometime soon. But you want to make sure that you put the one that's most closely representative of your particular profession, because it is searchable and people do look for people based on what that says, okay? Location, again, might seem simple, but it's not as simple as that. So I live in a little suburb of New York called West Hempstead, but I chose to have the New York City metropolitan area listed as opposed to West Hempstead, New York. Who knows why? Anybody? Yes.
Who wants individuals in the metropolitan area to see your account?
Exactly, because it shows up in searches for people in New York City, and most people don't know West Hempstead, but pretty much everybody is going to know New York. So it's important to make sure that I think to try to go with the biggest metropolitan area locally. Okay, so that's the top part of your profile over here. The other thing I want to show you here, there we go, is this right over here. So this is your LinkedIn background image. Now this is a place where I think people are wasting space continuously, because this is an opportunity to help promote your brand. The person who claims he can give an excellent LinkedIn workshop, I don't need to just claim that. Here's a picture of me giving a workshop. These folks staring in at me sells me better than I could ever possibly sell myself. But that's simple for somebody who's doing speaking. Now, if you're in performance dance or something, you know something of your dance and your performance. If you're a psychology major, what are you going to put there? Yes.
Some of us have done research conferences or presentations.
Mm-hmm.
We can put that.
Yep, you put a picture of you giving a presentation at a conference or the poster board or something like that. It's absolutely exactly the kind of thing. Now, I've had some computer security students that put the ones and the zeros, and accounting students that put old accounting books and things like that. But the idea is to make sure that it promotes your brand. That when somebody sees it, they say, Heinz Shapiro, LinkedIn, he speaks. So psychology student, she presents, she's an expert, and this is what she knows. Those guys think, yes, sir?
Okay, so, one moment.
Yeah.
So I'm, for example, a mathematics / computer science student, but I've got a particular interest in computer hardware and some low-level programming as well. So the background picture, if I set that to be like an assortment of various computer hardware, do you think that would be?
I think that makes sense, as long as people understand it. You want to make sure that people in the industry understand it. So sometimes it's industry specific, sometimes it isn't. And here's a trick, by the way. Any graphic design people here today? But there's a free website called Canva. If you put in here, you put in LinkedIn background, it should give you ones that are relatively easy to come in here and manipulate. Let's see if that works.
And it gives you the option to paste in different images.
You should be able to paste in, yeah. Well, I'm not a Canva expert, but it gives you the opportunity to make changes and do different things in order to really make sure that you personalize it for you. So that's one of the websites I think it really, really works. You have a question?
Would you ever recommend like putting part of your resume or something as the header?
So that's putting the resume and the background image?
Yes.
So I wouldn't put the resume there. I'll tell you why. And I was going to get into this a little bit later. You see I have my resume here. The problem is it's very, very small. And what people are going to be able to see is probably going to be difficult for them to get anything legitimate out of it that's going to help sell you. So I think there are better places to put that resume than up over there. The idea there is to really be promoting who you are and your brand. Okay?
Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay, so this over here, you just click on the little pencil right over there. Just to show you that again. Click on this little pencil, and you can move things around. You can add photos, do all these other things. LinkedIn, if you want to change your photo, has some generic ones. You can use the generic one until you find the real one, but you really want to move it over to the real one that helps promote your brand as soon as you can.
Yeah.
Okay? So, next thing I'm going to move to is making sure that you have a public URL that's actually very, very professional. You see here, my URL is my name, and my name. Now, the way you change that, because for a lot of folks, it's probably your name and some of the letters of your name and a dash and a bunch of letters and numbers after that. You go over here to edit public profile URL, click on that. That takes you to a different page, and this is where you're able to make that change. You go in here, you type in your name, first name, last name. Now, if you have a very common first name, last name, or a more common first name, last name, it might be taken. There can only be one URL per name. That's when you use a dash, underscore. This might be where, by the way, you put down BCC, Board Certified Coach, or Masters in Education, MED, or something like that in order to make sure that you get it. But the closest to your name you can get, the better. And that becomes your LinkedIn URL once you change it, and that's going to be your URL going forward. But once you have a professional LinkedIn account, and you have that URL, you can use that URL as a signature line in your emails like I currently do. And if somebody's interested in looking at your profile, they can. If not, that's fine. By the way, this page, as a lot of people ask me about this, is if somebody Googles your name and goes to LinkedIn, they're not logged into LinkedIn. So they're actually just using Google to find your name. This is the page that shows up. And you actually have some control over what they see. See, you have my About section here. I can get rid of that and make it disappear if that doesn't sell me better than other things, or keep it in so you get to highlight what is the most important parts of your profile on this page. So I just wanted to point that out on that page. And just another thing, if you do change the URL, always refresh the page when you go back to the main page. I was working with a client who came up with a great headline, and she wrote the whole thing out, and then because we actually went to the other page, it said we were in 2 locations, and it erased her entire headline. So always refresh that page, make sure you avoid that particular problem. Any questions at this point? Okay, so I'm gonna move down to the contact information. It's a little bit hard to find. You have to actually hover over contact info right over here. And I'll click on this, and this takes me into the part of LinkedIn where I can change that. Go to the pencil, and you see here. Now this is a good change to LinkedIn. I can actually go right into settings and see which email addresses I have associated with my account. You wanna make your primary email primary, and add email addresses. I've seen a lot of people that I've wanted to connect with, and I didn't want to send them a LinkedIn message, who had their email up from 3 or 4 jobs ago. Stay away from that. Make sure it's updated, make sure you have your primary one there. There's nothing wrong with having secondary emails there as well, in case people know that and want to send you a connection request via that email. So that's how you get to that. If you add an email address, you will have to go into, for example, Gmail and certify that it is your account. Okay, just moving further down here, I have my cell phone number up here. What do you guys think about that? Good idea, bad idea?
I think it depends, because because a cell phone number maps onto a single individual, whereas a landline number maps onto a building. And maybe you might want people to call you at your office rather than on your
Right.
cell phone all the time, so.
Right, by the way, you could put a landline number there as well if you like. But one of the main questions I normally get, I told you you get a lot of spam, look, I get a lot of spam anyway. But I'd rather get 3 extra spam calls in a week than miss the one really, really important call somebody who wanted to call me as opposed to sending me a message. So that's why I do it. I think it has to be your own comfort level, whatever is comfortable for each individual person. So you can change this mobile, it could be your work or home phone number as well. So you can put it in whichever one you choose. I also have my birth date, but not my birth year on here, because people do send me birthday messages on LinkedIn, and it can be a great way to engage folks and start building relationships. And you can add a website. So my website is my personal name, but there's a lot of options here. Personal, anybody have a portfolio? There you go. You just add the portfolio website URL and put it right there onto your profile, and that will add that. In addition, I have my Twitter account. If you have a professional Twitter account, I have that on there because Twitter can be a better opportunity to engage people in a less professional way. So if anybody is a baseball fan, the baseball season's starting, I can find somebody who's a huge baseball fan like me and comment on their baseball tweets, which are more frequent on Twitter than they would be on LinkedIn. And that could be a great way to build a relationship with that person before I make whatever ask it is that I want to make. So I have my Twitter account on here, but you see my Twitter account is my first name, last name as well, so it's a professional Twitter account. Okay, any questions about the contact information section? Okay, let's keep moving down here. Now, have you people seen the Open to Work badge that people have on their LinkedIn profiles? Now, if you don't have this on your profile now, there's Open To button over here, and you put Open to Work, click this little pencil, and I'm very happy at Turner. I've been there 15 and a half years, but if somebody offered me $1 million to come work somewhere else, that's something I would definitely consider. So I had this open, exactly what I'm looking for, but it's only open to people who are paying for and using LinkedIn recruiter platforms. So these are people who are professional recruiters who could find me and say that they want to take me out and pay me the $1 million. Now, if you want the Open to Work profile badge, what you need to do is switch this to all LinkedIn members. I do this, I click save, and refresh this page, or maybe it's going to refresh itself. Look what I did there. It added Open to Work right there around my name. That way people can see that you're open to work and you're looking for a new position. Yes, sir?
Sorry, how did you get to that last page?
So if you don't have it on your page, the Open to right here will allow you to add it. And once you have that on your page, you can add it right over here. But the question I was going to ask you guys next is, do we advise or not advise people to use the Open to Work frame? Now, I will tell you that there's a good split amongst LinkedIn experts on this. I'm in the minority on this one, but I think it's about a 40-60 split. I happen to be against it. Anybody have any idea why? Yes?
It looks a bit desperate.
So I won't use the word desperate, but I think the idea is that it does look like you're defining yourself by your job search. Now, when I see somebody on LinkedIn, I'm making a very, very quick impression of who I think they are. And I see their name, and I see their photo, and I see their headline, all great. Do I want their job status and the fact they're looking to be the first thing, be the first thing that I see about them? Now, I think it's important for people to share that, but I'm not sure I want to be identified with that. Now, there are definitely LinkedIn experts, probably the majority who disagree and would say to do it. I just don't know if I want that defining me. Yes, sir?
Yeah, no, that was, because I thought you were literally asking us, but I guess it was a rhetorical question. I think the banner, I guess, suggests that you're jobless, so that's not helping your case.
Yeah, the old adage that it's easier to find a job when you have a job. So I think, to me, I wouldn't put it, because again, I think it looks a little bit desperate, and it makes people identify you with your job search, but there is some value to it, because people see it, and potentially to set you up a job opportunities you might not have gotten otherwise. Yes?
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe, but I'm guessing, you could, I'm guessing that you could, I mean, there are instances where you might want to share that information that you're looking for a job, but because of the way LinkedIn is designed, because it puts it as sort of a wraparound on your profile picture, you know, it's not a good idea. But if I believe LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft, right?
Yeah.
If Microsoft decides to change the design in the future, maybe put it a bit
Right.
further down the page, maybe it'll be a better idea then.
Right. No, 100%, by the way. I think it's okay to share posts that you're looking for a job. I just don't want this to find you. Yes, please.
I do see here when you do add job references, it says choose who you see are open, and it says to all LinkedIn members and to recruiters only.
Right. So just to show you that again, when I have it set now to everybody, that's when it automatically adds this frame. All LinkedIn members, I have no choice. If I have it set to all LinkedIn members, it automatically opens the frame. And when I change this back, you'll see here to recruiters only, and click save and refresh, it's going to take that out. So look, LinkedIn recruiters are probably the most frequent people who are going to be looking to hire people. Look, there are definitely people who are open to work, who get job opportunities from friends who didn't know they're open to work. You just have to balance the two, because it does look like your job search is defining you. And I can see the argument that you don't want that, and I happen to be sympathetic to that particular argument. So I would just keep it open to recruiters only, and the recruiters will find you. But you can post, and we'll talk about posting later, you can post that you're looking for a job, because that doesn't define you. It's not the first thing that people are saying about your LinkedIn profile. Any questions about that? Okay. So just move a little bit further down here. So creator mode, I have it on, just so you know. This is something, if you are a creator and really an advanced user, can be very, very beneficial. You see here that I have all these hashtags over here. That's the creator mode thing. So you need to have creator mode to get that. Also, LinkedIn Live comes with creator mode, but it's really more of an advanced feature. Usually, like 95% of students are not going to be using creator mode. The goal is to eventually get to the point on LinkedIn where you do use creator mode, but most folks in college are not at that point quite yet. Okay, just moving down here. Now, I think this, to me, is also a very, very important part of LinkedIn. People are very, very visual nowadays, and this gives you the opportunity to actually share visual elements of who you are and what you've done. So again, as a person who claims he can give an excellent LinkedIn workshop, I can say that. I'm not going to click on this right now, but this will take you to a YouTube video of my giving a presentation at the University of California, Riverside via webinar. And again, I don't need to say and sell myself as somebody can actually get the actual video and see it, and that can sell them. So somebody mentioned giving presentations before. Great place to put a presentation that you gave. Put the video up there, let people see what you're capable of doing. Now, there was a question earlier about resumes, and that's where I actually do have mine. So you see here, I usually don't keep it as the second one because I'm not looking for a job. I just move that over. You click on this, if there's somebody who's not particularly adept at LinkedIn, they can actually download my resume right onto their desktop off of that. So I think it is a good idea to upload that. Just to show you how to add things here, a little plus button, you can add a post, article, link, media, and that's how you'll be able to put them. These are YouTube links that I actually put in there. And you can always go in here and reorder it to make sure the most important stuff is first. So I moved this up today for example purposes. And now that this session is done, I'm going to move this further back down to where it normally belongs and have a second LinkedIn. Actually, I think this is the one here. Actually, I think this is, let's just take a look. I think it's purchased.
When you compare Optimum to Frontier, Optimum wins.
Well, look at that. You know, so the purchase is so famous that they're actually monetizing you. So that's really, really good. I like that. Maybe I'm so famous they're monetizing me. I don't know. But anyway, that was one that I gave here, and I still have it up there, you see. So that's something I think is very, very important. Just reorder and make sure that you have your best stuff first. Always important to understand that in social media, you can't assume people are reading everything and seeing everything. The higher something is, the more likely someone is to see it. The further down you go, the less likely someone is to see it. So you always want to have your best stuff first, your second best stuff second, et cetera, et cetera. And that changes depending on what your needs are, obviously. Okay, any questions about that? Yes, please.
Wait, so any questions about what again?
About the featured section.
About the featured section. So the featured section is, it's not part of your page, is it?
No, it is. It's something you add to your page. If you don't see it on your page right now, you go to Add Profile section, and I believe it's under Recommended. There we go, Add Feature.
Not just following along without LinkedIn, like I don't have my laptop
Oh,
today.
no, it's embedded in your profile.
Oh,
Yeah, so if you don't see it, you might not see it if you haven't enabled it yet. Just go to Add Profile section and go to the Recommended and Add Feature, and that'll give you the opportunity to add it there and put those stuff in. I highly recommend it, especially when you have good stuff, because it does allow you to promote yourself, and people are very visual. I'll get to you in 1 second. You had a question over here?
Well, it was basically that question.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, that's how you add it. Yes, please.
I was wondering, there are some people that are required to put cover letters along with the resume.
Mhm.
In the feature section, are you able to attach cover letters or any other for the document?
It's a great question. You can put whatever you like there, so you can definitely put a cover letter. I tend, and I don't want to disagree with whatever advice you give here, but I usually don't like the idea of generic cover letters, because when you're sending a cover letter to a company, I think it needs to be specific. I am sending this specifically to a particular company, and it is tailored for that company. So I usually don't recommend people write generic cover letters and put it anywhere. So that's why I would advise against it. There could definitely be people who disagree with that and recommend it, but you can definitely put up more documents there. I think it's probably better to have it as a separate feature, because it's going to be hard for people to see that if the document's in there, so it's show all featured items. Because if you have the cover letter on here, they're not going to see the resume is underneath it, and this you can sort of see looks like a resume. Okay, other questions about featured? Okay, good. So we keep moving down here. All right, the About section used to be called your summary. This is an opportunity to give more of a narrative about who you are than you're able to include in your LinkedIn headline. So there's a lot more space here to really say who you are. If you use a summary statement on your resume, this could be a great place to include that. Now, I once gave a session, and I said, nobody likes Seymour. And there was actually somebody named Seymour who got really upset at me. But what was I trying to say? Anybody know?
Where is it there?
What I was trying to say was that nobody likes to click the Seymour button because people are busy and they're not going to see the stuff underneath what we used to call the fold on the New York Times. Front fold got much more recognition than what's on the back. So what I was trying to say is that nobody clicks the Seymour button to see the rest of the stuff. Now, I have a lot of other stuff down here. Why do I do that if nobody sees it? Who knows? Yes?
If that initial blurb interests them, then you want to carry that momentum forward.
100%. It carries the momentum forward. It gives you the opportunity to give more of a narrative, and people who are really interested get a chance to see it. In addition to that, yes?
So basically, put your best stuff first at the About section, but just factor in some people who might put the Seymour just to be safe.
Well, I put it there also because people can see it, but also it's highly searchable. So when people are searching for things, they're going to be coming up on that, even though they're not seeing it. When they're doing searches on LinkedIn, it's going to show up in the searches. So it's still there, it's just not being seen.
Yeah.
It's like the internet takes like a big picture of everything, so it's there. Just they're not seeing it, but I want to have my best stuff
All right, makes sense.
above the Seymour line, as I like to call it. So you want to have the best stuff above the Seymour line. Okay. Any questions about anything we've spoken about so far? Oh, sorry, I didn't see you.
For the about section, like, we don't need to use full sentences.
Yeah, so I happen to personally believe big blocks of text don't work well on social media, so you can separate different ideas the same way that you do it. And I think you can have more, a little bit bigger ideas here. You see here, I divide things out a little bit more and divide them into smaller blocks. Big blocks of text, people see it, their eyes start to roll, and they really don't process it as well as they do much smaller little bites of information. Great question. Okay, so the next section I want to get to is your work experience. And I know a bunch of you mentioned that you have jobs, so that actually should be something that you have up here on your LinkedIn profile. So you see here, I've been at Turo for a very, very long time, but there are a couple of very important things to point out here. Now, this is where I edit my Turo experience. Click on this little pencil, and then I click on the Turo one right over here. First of all, I turn this off here, notify my network. I only put this on if I was making a major change. When I got that $1 million offer, which maybe one of you will give me, and I move over to that place, that's when I would put that on so people see about it. The problem is if you make small changes to your work experience, it sends a blast out to everyone that you got a new job, even though you've been in a place for a very, very long time. Now, first thing you need to do, find your company on LinkedIn. You see here, there's a little Turo University logo over here. Look what happens when I get rid of the Y. See what happened over there? Got rid of that logo, which means that nobody sees the logo and it doesn't show up as well in searches. Let the autofill on LinkedIn fill it, click that, and make sure to connect that. That will make sure that people see it in those searches. Plus, it looks a lot more professional. I'll give you an example somewhere else that I actually worked that doesn't have one, the difference in what it looks like. Okay, another thing you can do here is you can add bullets that really describe who you are and what you do. This could be right off your resume. One of the biggest flaws in my mind in LinkedIn is that it does not have a bullet feature. It should have an easy way to do this. This isn't optimized for LinkedIn, but I think it's worthwhile just to put it in there, just to make sure that people can see what I'm able to do and be able to utilize that. So I think that is important. I just cut and pasted right in. LinkedIn should make this easier to do. Now we'll get to the skills in just a few minutes. So I'll show you a couple other things about your work experience. Here, if you had multiple positions in the same company, you see how we have this line here that shows different positions? So that's something you can actually do if you line it up correctly. So you see here, I finished my position July 2016 as assistant director, and I started this one July 2016. And that's what allows me to have this continuous line here to show that I've been at the same place for a longer period of time. And I think that's a very important thing to have if you're taking on more responsibility at a company. If you have it more than a month off, it will actually take it off and you'll show up as two different jobs. You want to make sure to do that correctly. Another thing you can do here is reorder things. So I do social media consulting on the side. If ever my social media consulting got more important than my job, just could simply flip that up over there. Then I'll change that up over here. And also on my main page, it now says my consulting business first as opposed to having it second. So you can always change those things. Just be aware that you can only do those changes for a current job. You can't do it with the previous job. And I want to move this back so my boss doesn't see it. It's okay there. Yes, please.
Is there certain jobs you wouldn't recommend to put up there, like if you work as a barista or retail or?
So that's a great question. I was going to get to that. Let me just show you here. So I have a job way down over here when I was a lifetime ago. Actually, when the World Cup was last in the United States, soccer World Cup. But then I was working in a thrift store and I was hauling furniture. And by the way, I wish I was still capable physically of hauling the furniture, but I would not be able to do that nowadays. But I have that there because it gives people perspective of what I'm able to do. In fact, I was able to work and I put myself in college by doing that. It doesn't say that, but I think that's worthwhile to have. So I think, yeah, as long as it's a positive thing that promotes you well and they'll give good recommendations, there's no reason to keep it out. Most people probably aren't going to see it. They're not going to scroll down as more time passes. Yeah, there's no reason not to include it. And just to see here, here's the place where I worked that did not have a logo. So you see the difference between here, Pace, and this place, where there's a logo and where there is no logo. Yes, please.
Should you include jobs that you had for like less than 6 months? Like if it was like a summer?
I think you can write seasonal. I think I have that under my, under Pace. I think I have that, part-time summers.
Okay.
So I put that in there. I think this should make it easier to do that so people can actually see that. And there is a way to do part-time, but it says part-time here, but I want to make sure people understood that it wasn't full-time employment at Pace. Yeah, but I think, especially for students who are doing internships and working over the summer, it's definitely a great thing to have that stuff up there. Yes, please.
How far back do you recommend us growing our work from? Like, if we are like a brand doing a certain thing now, would it be a bad idea to like include work experience from like high school? Or?
Yeah, so I'll say high school might be a little bit too far back, and the same thing is true with the resume, I would say, but here's the thing. If it's a positive work experience, I don't see any reason not to include it. Again, you don't want it to be highlighted, but if people see that you have a lot of work experience and you've done a lot of stuff over the years, that works to your advantage, not your disadvantage. And again, I think most people are going to see this. I want to go back here to the experience section and show you what it looks like on the page. So you see here, it cuts off after this. Somebody has to click show online experiences, and if they do that, I think you want to mention about being very interested before. That's somebody who's very interested. Why not let them see it? As long as it's a good, positive experience, and that would give it. I don't even know if anybody's left working at that place from when I was there in 1992. But those are all positive things that you can do. Other questions? This has been great. Questions have been great so far. Yes, please.
When you say like positive, do you mean like basically like if like references would be positive?
Yeah, and if they're going to call up your boss and they're going to say, "Oh, don't hire Chaim Shapiro. He was terrible. He sat there watching the Cubs all day." Yeah, that's not something I want to put down most likely. Yeah. Okay. You got a question over there? Yeah. No. Okay. So we're going to move down to the education section. So for most of you folks, this would be SUNY Purchase, and it's pretty simple. Same thing here. Click the little pencil. Make sure that you actually sync that with the SUNY Purchase. You see if I get rid of the E in Riverside here, that disappears and it won't show up in the alumni searches as well. Couple of things here to point out about this. You have the ability also to put some other things that I put in here about my time at Northeastern Illinois University. Anybody NCAA fans? The tournament's coming up. Any NCAA fans? No? A little bit? Okay. So I want you to know that my Loyola Ramblers made it to the Final Four 5 years ago. And while they were on their run, what I did here is I went in here and I put Loyola first above UC Riverside, even though UC Riverside is more recent. The reason I did that is because everybody was talking about Loyola, and at the top of my profile, Loyola showed up and went, oh yeah, Ramblers, and then it actually got me involved in a lot of different conversations that really helped me. And then obviously after they lost in the Final Four, I simply went back down over here, and I moved Loyola back 2 seconds. But I had a very positive, don't get me wrong, I love Loyola, but usually you want the most recent experience up there first. Any questions about that? Yes, please.
Two related to the same thing. One, do you include your high school?
So usually not. I mean, if you went to like one of these prep schools, like Harvard Westlake or something like that, that might make sense. But usually high school is not relevant at that point.
And two, real quick. If you transferred out of a school, do you still include the old school, or?
Usually, again, I think if you're there for a little period of time, yeah, I think you can include that as the old school, even if you didn't finish a degree there. Yeah, I think that makes sense. You had a question in front?
Yeah, I'm guessing also if you went to a specialty public school, like in New York City, they have, what was it, Stuyvesant High School?
Yeah.
I mean, I've known a few people who went there, even though I live in Mamaroneck. So yeah, I'm guessing that's something you would probably want to include as well.
Yeah, if it's really impressive and it really sells you and your brand, there's no reason not to include it, right? As long as it's positive and it sells you and your brand, yeah, there are definitely exceptions to all of these rules. Okay, if you have any license and certification, it works the exact same way. I don't need to add that. Most students don't have that. Anyone here licensed and certified? Yes? Can I ask what you have certification in?
FAA drone license.
Okay, cool. Okay, good. So that's the kind of thing you'd add there, just to show you here. Same kind of format. You can go in here and put the name of the place that certifies you, the organization, and the name of the certificate and when it expires and those kinds of things. So it's a great thing to add. Because again, people search for these things. I'm looking for somebody, for example, who's a board certified coach. They see that I have the credential, and that can help sell me to people who are looking to hire me for a LinkedIn presentation. Now, next thing I want to show you here is the skills section. This is very, very important. And again, highly searchable. You can put up to 50 skills on your LinkedIn profile. If you have skills that are beneficial, I recommend that you utilize more, not less, because people are going to be searching for industrial psychology students who have skills that are listed in a particular way, and then you're able to see that on their profile. Yes, sir?
Do you need to actually have those skills instead of just putting them one day?
Yes, I always recommend anything you put anywhere that you're selling yourself professionally should always be truthful. It's like you want to put any skill just because it's a skill that you want to have. Get that skill if you have to, but don't put it if you don't have it, because if you go to work the first day, there's a famous meme going around with a dog with sheep. You guys ever seen this one? Like the sheep dog, and like he lied in his job interview and the sheep are running around the dog. Anyway, but it's a cute little thing. What happens when you're dishonest on things like this?
If it would actually be beneficial to put less due to the fact that I'm maybe actually good at those skills.
Yeah, you can put your top skills, but if you know something, you can put it down as well. And I'm going to show you, because I think, just to follow up on your point, you see here I have 3 skills up at the top. This is also a show all 46. This is another Seymour. So I chose the 3 skills I want to highlight the most up here at the top. And those are your best skills, the ones that sell you the best. Also the fact that I was endorsed by Lindsay Pollock here, and Manny, by the way, for these skills, people that are very famous in the field. That helps sell me. But I want to change those. All I need to do is click the little pencil over here, and reorder is a little harder to find here. But I can just move one of these up. Let's say we move program development up 1, and that's going to show up in my top 3 now. There we go. Okay, and this, I pushed the more button, but it changes the top 3 are the ones you're able to show. Yes?
You might have said this already, so I'm sorry if you did, but a lot of students have taken, and a lot of us have, during our COVID downtime, courses, webinars, participation in virtual educational programs and so on. Where do you think the best place for that kind of listing, attended because they may have developed skills as a result, it might have been a micro-credentialing or something.
Right.
But it might have just been a series of.
So there are a couple of places you can do that. One of the things that you can actually do now, they have a demonstrate skills here on LinkedIn. So for example, if you use the computer, so this is something new where you put a little thing in for HR managers, but you can take skill assessments on anything technological, and that will show up that you're an expert at SQL or Python or whatever it happens to be. That's the right place to put it. LinkedIn needs to get better at badging. LinkedIn is not good at badging.
Yeah.
There should be a badge section, there isn't. I think the reason is because there's nothing that stands behind the validity of a badge. Anybody can give anybody a badge.
We used to have something.
They did.
Yeah.
They used to have their own badges. But
Yeah.
and if you complete it, and it's also a sales thing. On LinkedIn, if you complete one of their courses, they give you a completion. Doesn't mean you mastered it.
Yeah.
So, they do need to get better on that. But you can take those skills assessments, and that will give you the opportunity potentially to show people the skills that you have.
Well, all the participants here will be getting a certificate of completion.
There you go.
So we're at least.
And you can post that, you can put that as a post, by the way, if you just get your badge in that particular thing, okay?
So a certificate of completion for LinkedIn itself, or?
Well, it's a certificate of completion for a session on LinkedIn, I think is what I lost her what they're giving you at the end of the session. Now, one more thing I want to show you here, and this is relatively new, is for each of these particular skills, I can actually associate it directly with one of my positions. If you notice before when I showed you my position at Turo, there was a number of skills listed underneath it. So this is how I'm able to add that. Just click on one of these and it'll add that skill to your section under your employment. And you can do this for all 49 of your skills, but I wouldn't overwhelm people. Just use the most important and best skills that sell you in the best possible way. Just to show you that again under the employment, I go back over here under Turo and list my skills right over here. That's the easiest way to add that. That's something they added over COVID actually. That wasn't available before that point, but I do think it's very, very important. By the way, to follow up on your point from before, not only would I not put a skill down if I don't have it, a lot of people endorse people for skills just because they see them. To me, if you call me up and ask me why I endorse a particular person for a particular skill, I can tell you exactly why I know that person has that skill. If I put my word behind something, my word is behind it. I don't just endorse people just to be an open endorser, because I think that your word is worthless. You gotta stand behind who you are and what you do, and I only endorse people for things that I think I can stand up and say why I endorse that particular person. Any questions about skills? One of the most common questions, I guess, how do I know what skills are best for my profession? So a couple tricks on this one. So I did this thinking there'd be a lot more performing arts people here, but if you go to, let's say, the John F. Kennedy Performing Arts Center here, I go to people, and I click the next button, it's actually going to show me the people who work there, what they're skilled at. Now, this isn't as powerful as it was 3 years ago, because they used to show you 12 or 13 skills here. It only shows you 4 or 5 right now, but it's still valuable, because if you do Kennedy Performing Arts Lincoln Center, you can start triangulating your own ideas. Now look what else you can do here. If you want to find somebody you want to purchase, click that in there. And I think there were 2 of them last time I checked. It shows you what they're skilled at, but look at this. If I'm looking to work at the Kennedy Performing Arts Center, who am I reaching out to? Purchase people, right? She works there. That's the person I might want to reach out to. If you have time at the end, I'll talk to you about the best way to send those connection requests, but that's a great way of seeing where people are. There's another workaround for this that they just launched, and I will tell you, this is actually a premium feature for right now, but they're going to give you a workaround for that. If I click on who's viewed your profile, it actually gives me key skill suggestions for my profession. So I click on this. This is my first time presenting this, by the way, because it just opened up. Director of Career Development, that's in my profile, and it recommends things that I can add to it that are relevant and are worthwhile for people who are in that kind of profession. Now, one of the things you can do is you can change this. So if I want to do industrial, I'm just going to do accounting, but I was trying to do industrial psychology. It'll show me, when I hit the enter button, those particular skills for that, and you just copy those right off of here. And you can do that for every profession. The problem is, this is a premium feature, which means you have to pay for premium. 2 ways around that. Anyone want to guess what the ways around that are?
Have the skills listed elsewhere?
So, the idea is to get it for your own profile, in other words, you want to get these skills. 2 ways around it. First of all, LinkedIn usually gives everybody a free month of premium per year, and most people aren't changing professions that frequently. So if you get your free month, make sure to cancel it. Get your key skills, and if you have those skills, add them to your profile. The second way is reach out to somebody you know who has a premium, just ask them to do it. Send them you a screenshot, and you'll be able to add those key profile suggestions to your profile that way. But again, if you have them, you don't want to add things just because they're there. You want to add things that you actually have. Okay? Go back and show you the last little thing on the profile, then we're going to move on to looking for jobs. Oops. Yes.
So there's also so I kind of missed the headline portion of the profile.
So come to me afterwards. We'll talk a little about it, okay? Yeah. You come right afterwards.
But also when I put in the industry, it tells me industry is a required field, even though I filled it in. So
yeah. So industry doesn't give you all the choices it should. That's one of the flaws. So again, as close as you can to the correct industry, but that's a flaw with LinkedIn, and it's getting to the point where they're making it better, but it's not quite there yet. We'll talk. Let's talk. Come up with you right afterwards. We'll talk about your headline, okay? All right. So I just want to move down here to the last part of this profile. Was there a question, or just okay? No. Okay. So recommendations are much more valuable to me than anyone endorsing you, because this gives people the opportunity to give you a narrative about who you are, what you're able to provide. You see, Chloe here gave me a recommendation about my LinkedIn workshop. That sells me better. People see it. People don't even use testimonials in a lot of their professions anymore. They just show people the recommendations that they got. Now, just to show you, if you want to request a recommendation, you click the plus button, ask for a recommendation, and you start typing in whatever name it is. It's got to be somebody you're connected to. And click the continue button. I'm not going to actually send this to her. How do you know them? What position? This is the important part. Always personalize this. If I were to send Wendy a message after this session saying, would you recommend me?
Me too, as a reminder, because I still haven't done
that. Can I show you what that looks like? I don't want to present this, but I'll show you what that looks like.
I did it a long time ago.
Yeah, I'll show you what that looks like. So you want to write something like that, because then people are much more likely to do it. They have to be connected to you. Now, nobody can put anything on your profile without your permission. That's the show all pending. So I'm going to send Wendy a reminder, because I think there we go. So this is what I sent her last year.
I can expand.
Yeah. But anyway, here's somebody who was trying to troll me. Look at this guy.
Oh, God.
Perfect liars for free. He thought, right, Chaim sees a recommendation, clicks it on his profile, and he gets to laugh it up all the way to the bank. The problem, the good thing is, he can't do that. He cannot add it to my profile. I would have to add to my profile. I don't, and I don't dismiss it either, because I like to use it as examples, but you have to be careful what people are saying.
It looks like spam.
It is spam. If somebody was trying to troll me. It was a spam guy trying to troll me. He thought he was funny or whatever it was. But for example, if I wanted to go in here and ask Chloe to change this, I can't change it for Chloe, but I can send Chloe a message asking her to make specific changes. If she makes those changes and I like them, then I can add them, but I cannot make the changes for her. And that way, for example, if I wanted to highlight a particular part of my LinkedIn workshop that I wanted, and she felt comfortable doing it, she can tailor the recommendation to help me with people who potentially be my customers going forward. You also can't reorder these, which is really annoying, because I'd like to be able to go down here and pull out some of these old ones.
Yeah.
So if you want ones that are less relevant, more relevant, just click the off button, and just the top 3 are the ones that really show up. Unfortunately, there's not really much else you can do about that. Okay? Just to share one last thing about the profile, we're going to move on to job searching. If you want to add any other sections to your profile, it's always under the Add Profile section. So you see here, there are a lot of different options here. There's the core and recommended. Courses can make sense, like if you're an accounting major and you're looking for an accounting internship, it can make sense if you took intermediate accounting, because they could be looking for that. So that's something you could add. The additional section here, publications, patents, projects, honors, and awards. Test scores doesn't mean that you got a 95 in your industrial psychology midterm. That'd be like a score on the CPA exam or something like that, but you can definitely add those things as well. It's all about what sells you in the best possible way. Anybody here have a patent? I have one session where I actually had somebody had a patent, which is kind of cool. But that's the idea of what I have for the LinkedIn profile. Any questions about any part of the profile? Or we'll move on to job searching. We're running towards the end.
Sorry.
Oh, one second. Why don't I get to you in a second?
Just one quick thing. Can you showed how they connect with folks, and like for the alum, like if you're trying to find an alum in a company you're looking for. The one thing that we find really helpful in counseling appointments is if we go to Purchase College and we just look at all of the alum at Purchase College, which is like, 27,000, then we want to say, okay, I just want to see people who graduated from the communications program. Then it knocks it down to a few hundred. Then what are they doing with their communications degree? That's a fun way, I think.
Yes,
to
under
look.
alumni here, you can actually do some searches by year, where they work, where they live,
Yeah.
and some other things in here.
And you
But
can
there's
search
still
by
that
major.
arts and design, business development, title, keyword, this is highly searchable.
Yep.
The problem again is they got rid of a whole bunch of lines here.
Yeah.
It used to be 13 lines, now it's only 5 or 6, which is really annoying. But yes, once you identify business development people,
Then you see all those.
then you can see the people down here who are alumni, and I'm looking specifically for somebody who went to school while I was there,
Right.
which for me is ancient times in Northeastern Illinois, but I could actually check that.
Maybe they
100%.
be a mentor or.
You got a question?
Wait, which one should go first? Do you want to go first?
Go, all right. Okay, welcome, you wanna go? Whatever you want.
I'll just make mine quick. So how did you get to that add thing with the profile?
So there's a couple ways to get to it. If you go to view profile, this is the edit mode. Right here in the main section, right over here, add profile section. You can
Oh, it's add section.
add profile section. It could be. Mobile could be very different. Mobile can be very different.
Yeah, so it says add
Yeah,
section.
that makes sense. Yeah.
So I can add.
Yeah, whatever sections are relevant to you. You got a question?
I'm sorry.
No, not sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm like thinking for a little bit. I'm actually calling to think of my profile. I think it took me to the what kind of job are you looking for page. Is that something you'll be able to change like later? Or?
Yeah, you'll be able to change all that stuff later.
Okay.
Everything that you set it up now, when you go back to it later, I recommend doing that on a desktop. It's a lot easier to set up on a desktop than it is on mobile. And then you'll be able to make whatever changes you need to make later.
What happens if I exit out of the app while I'm doing this?
It should be fine. You can always go back to it once the account is created. I'm not an expert on mobile, it shouldn't be a problem. Question back over there, yes?
Yeah, other than LinkedIn, what are some really good websites to look for jobs that you find?
Well, I'm a big believer in searching for jobs on Google's website, because Google is Google search does, it aggregates jobs, which really gives it an opportunity, makes it better than other things. So I usually have alerts set up on Google Jobs, but let me show you the job thing here first. So jobs are over here, click this little tab right in the middle, and I'll take you to the ability to search for jobs. I'm not gonna have time to do it today, but there's an interview prep tool here, which allows you to practice and record videos of yourself, and it actually gives you an artificial intelligence readout of whether you're speaking normally, you're speaking too fast, if you're moderating your tone. So it's a very powerful tool that I usually teach about in my advanced class. Just go back here to jobs. I can do here, oops, I go to jobs, I can do here, I did industrial psychology in the New York City area. Okay, so these are jobs here now. You might need to play around with it to get this exactly what you want. Experience level, company, filters, perhaps the wording needs to be very specific. Once you find that, set an alert. And when that alert will come to you either every day or every week, depending on your settings, and that way you don't have to worry about missing a job. So in other words, if a job comes up and meets your criteria, it's going to automatically send you an email saying that you could apply to those things. Now, one of the reasons I like LinkedIn's job board better than other job boards is this right over here. Now, when I want to apply to this job at SMBC, okay, I can apply for it, very simple, but look at this. I have 2 connections that I'm connected to that actually work there. That's my opportunity to turn that cold lead into a warm lead. If I actually knew these people, and I actually do know Abraham actually, if I reach out to him and send them a message, Abraham, I'm looking to apply for a job at SMBC, can you give me some advice about navigating the application process or something like that to build the conversation? Can I have an informational interview about working at SMBC? I've just turned a cold lead that's in the slush pile when I send my resume in to having somebody who's working at the actual company sending that in for me. Very, very powerful. You cannot do that on Google. Another thing you'll see here is I also have alumni from my institution here. So I might not be connected to them, but again, alumni tend to be willing to help folks. So I can go in here and connect with Loretta or Jean and then ask them if they're willing to meet with me and have that kind of introduction that'll make that a cold lead into a warm lead as well. So I think that's very, very powerful. You can set up multiple job posts and multiple alerts, so it doesn't have to be the exact same one. You can have multiple different things to make sure you're getting all of those jobs. And this does tend to aggregate things as well, so there's a whole bunch of jobs here from all sorts of different places. So you also set this up by New York. I did set it by New York. Okay. And also, another thing, if you're working on your mobile phone, and you want to say, oh, I really want to apply to this job, I want to reach out to Abraham first, just click the save button, and you can actually get back to that later when you get to your computer. Just to show you where that is, you go to the edit mode of your profile, you just scroll down to all resources. Under my items, you will see that job. There we go. And then you can go back to it later and apply to it and reach out to your people. So if you're on the train and you're like, oh, that's a great job, I want to apply to it, you don't have to apply immediately. You can take your time and make sure that you're not going to miss it. You simply can go back to it, and I'm going to delete this job and save it because that's not something that I'm actually looking for. Does that make sense in terms of looking for jobs and setting up alerts and all those things? Okay. You got a question?
No, nothing.
Did I frustrate you?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
So to start searching for jobs, you,
The job tab in the middle right here.
right, yeah.
Go to the job tab, and then I'll give you the opportunity to search for actual jobs. Now, one of the questions that I think somebody asked at the beginning and wanted to talk about is how to start engaging the right people. Now, alumni from Purchase are obvious people. If I just walk up to somebody and send them a connection request, say, hey, I'm a Purchase student, will you reach out to me? They might accept it, they might not. But I think the better idea is to start really engaging people, building a relationship with them, and then sending that connection request. Because when I know somebody, I am much more likely to be willing to accept their connection request than when I do not know them. That's why, again, I mentioned before, I have my Twitter account up there. If I have a target, and by the way, I do have targets, and I wait for them to post something about baseball or football or NCAA, and then I hit them on Twitter, I've built that relationship that I can then take over to LinkedIn. So how do you find the people who are the right people? Now, if you look for a particular person, you can always see what it is that they've been posting about. They will see that you have to go to their profile once you turn that off. But you can actually scroll down here, and if I have a particular target, I can see her activity. Here's your post. What's that?
It just posted about you about
Oh!
minutes ago, but how come I'm not seeing it?
It probably didn't show up yet. Sometimes it takes a little while to load up in the system.
I mean, it shows up on my phone.
Oh, cool, okay. That was not intended either, by the way.
No, I know, I just looked.
But this gives me an opportunity if I have a particular target to see what they're posting on, and then when they post something that I know about, along my mentors, for example, I can actually go onto that post and then engage them on their post. And when you see something that somebody posts and you want to comment on it, first thing you do, go down to add comments and always hit the add button and tag that person. Because when you tag that person, they're almost guaranteed to see it. If I go to notifications over here, you actually see people. See, Danielle and one other person replied to this. I go down here, Moshe Siegel mentioned me in a comment. See how that's an individual tailored one. I see that Moshe has tagged me, so if I'm tagging Wendy, if she checks her notifications, we'll see that. And I'm much more likely to utilize that than if you have a whole bunch of people, like 12 other people reacting to my post. Not as powerful as saying my name, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's so important to make sure that you're engaging people and tagging them when you're actually doing those posts. But how do you start searching for posts? So I tried performance art, we're going to go to industrial organizational psychology. So what I want to switch this to, instead of jobs, I'm going to switch this to posts. And this is going to show me posts that people have made on industrial and organizational psychology that I can start engaging with the people who are the thought leaders in those particular things. So again, if I wanted to respond to Elliot, I go down over here, click the comment button, click add Elliot, and again, you're not just putting something to put something. Show something that shows you really know that stuff, and then you've engaged them in a way that you can start building that relationship with them going forward. Now, you can also, just like when it comes to the jobs, this could take some time to get it exactly right. You want to get it to the point where what you're actually posting there is getting the kinds of posts that are relevant to your field that allow you to demonstrate your expertise. It might take you a little while to find those things. Once you do, I would say to start checking those on a regular basis, because once you start engaging the thought leaders in a particular industry, that's when they start recognizing you, and that's when you have the ability to start sending warm leads to them through that engagement that you're making through them. Does that make sense? Another really cool engagement tool that a lot of people aren't using, and it's relatively new also. LinkedIn added a poll feature, and I'm not going to have a chance to get into actual posting, but one of the things you can do is you can actually post polls on LinkedIn, and you want to keep these professional. That wasn't so professional, but let's see where it is here. Let's see it anyway. I'll show always out there, it should be one of these posts. Oh, there's always one thing that goes wrong in all of these things, maybe this is the one that said, oh, here it is, no, that's not it. I had a post on here that was actually a poll, and when you have a poll, what's that you're actually able to do in the polls, you're actually able to see people who commented on it. Oh, shit, it's frustrating, I can't see that.
Is it that little?
Okay. Anyway, it is what it is, but the poll is there, and the poll what allows you, maybe I can see it over here. Here it is, do it this way, okay. So this is a poll that I put up there about the Jewish holiday at Purim. But look at this, I got 97 votes on this, which is a lot of engagement. It means 97 people took the time to vote. If I click on this, look what it shows me. Now, only the person who posted the poll can do this. So I can see who voted and how they voted. If I want to engage somebody who posted with me because they showed interest in me, this is a great opportunity to do it. So I can go to Jennifer Hudson, for example, and comment and say, thank you for voting in my poll. You never heard of the holiday of Purim, let me tell you a little bit more about it, and send something to her. Just a little trick here is, don't click this button over here, because it takes you off to a separate page, and it's a whole other thing over here. What you want to click is actually on their name, and then comment through their post a regular message on their name. Because that makes it a little easier if you want to send these to a whole bunch of people. This gives me the opportunity to send her a direct message about that thing, and then engage her in a way that she can relate to what I was talking about. Yes, please.
Out of curiosity, trying to see a way I can use LinkedIn in a way, an academic way, would it be inappropriate to post research questions like we have for a senior project so we can have more data, like for example?
Yeah, I think it's perfectly fine to post it. I mean, you have to, sometimes you don't get the kind of numbers you need in order for it to be, that reaches the validity you might need for that kind of thing. But yeah, if it presents you in a positive way and shows me, I'm a person who understands psychology, because she is posting about an advanced question in psychology, 100%, I would absolutely say to do it. Again, you might not reach the level of validity because we might not get enough respondents, and these are not scientific polls either.
Oh no, like adding a link to.
Oh, 100%, yeah. If it, 100%, because I think that presents you in a very positive way. Yeah, absolutely, I would do that, 100%. Yes, please.
I actually have a quick question. So I'm a communications major, but I was just, and a psych major, also a double major. My question is regarding the communications aspect. If I wanted to post, I don't know, maybe one of my senior projects, a senior capstone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would that, I think that would be a good thing to showcase, like, oh, or like, I'm in strategic message design, right? And I have to come up with a brand, and would it be okay, I think so, possibly to showcase that? Like the mop-up brand, right, or,
as long as it's professional and presents you in a positive way, I would definitely do it. And you can do it up here, you can do it in your headline, you can do it in the featured section. Wherever it looks best and sells to you best, 100%. Look, you know something, if you're a student, you're not going to have the same level of professional accomplishments as somebody who's as old as me and been working as long as me. So highlight your stuff. And people who are hiring students know that you're not going to have the same level of things. So yeah, hire stuff that's showing me you're an expert. Put stuff that's showing me you're an expert. Put down things that will illustrate the fact that I can trust you as an expert in a particular area. You know the question?
I was gonna say, I think
Yeah, go ahead.
as an artist too, I feel like maybe putting a piece of art that I've made on there as well would also.
Featured section or your website. Yeah.
Oh, like I was gonna say, I could just put a website, but I also.
Yeah, that's where you can put the section in the content.
Yeah, because to put it on there is just, I feel like it's different, but yes.
Yeah, you can put it as your website under portfolio, for example.
Yep.
Over here, that's one way to do it. You can definitely put it on the featured section. I tend to recommend portfolio, probably do to both, especially if it's something that really sells you. I don't have that much of a problem with repeating information as long as there's a lot of different information. Because again, very few people are looking very, very carefully and just focusing intently on every part of your profile. So if you want to reiterate your message, I definitely think there's room to do that. Other questions? Yes.
I just wanted to add that, and I think everyone who came to this workshop would, kind of gets that idea, that, the resume and the cover letter is just such a small piece of how you're beginning to market yourself. All employers look at LinkedIn now. When they look at resumes, they say, okay, these 10 resumes look good, but let's look them up on LinkedIn. It used to be sort of a secretive thing, not going to be checking out to see get a deeper dive into their profile, into their background, just to learn a little more about themselves, because it's this living document. But it's a great thing now because you can really strengthen and give a better picture of who you are as a potential employee by making your profile more robust.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I think you can almost assume any professional, any company is going, just to get your resume, is going to be looking up your LinkedIn profile to see what you're doing on there and to make sure that you're professional and find out more about you. Resumes are stagnant, you know, they're documents, they're a picture of a time. I can see posts, I can see comments, I can see things that you're doing here.
Yeah.
You saw when I went to Wendy's profile here before, I can see the comments that she's making. So I can go here and see what she's commenting. And you want to keep these things professional again, because that's something that somebody can see. But it's much more robust than a resume. Yes, you can almost guarantee that somebody who's looking to hire you from an employer in the company is going to be looking up your LinkedIn profile to find out more about you. Do you have a question?
A question, how do you change the, I'm sorry, like, I think, how do you change, like, maybe, like, what kind of job are you looking for?
What kind of job are you looking for under the open to work?
Yeah, I think.
Well, come to me afterward, we'll talk about it. I just want to make sure that I understand your question appropriately. Yes?
So if you did something that didn't, like, if you had like experience, so say, because I'm an ambassador for my major, and like every year, like we have multiple events that we go to and we talk to with athletes, would that count as like experience that you could put down?
I don't know about work experience. I definitely put it down as, you know, as something that you put in the summary, things like that. I mean, you presented at conferences, you can put down conference presentations and things. I think I had that here under, I put it a little further on my account because it's not as important, but under my jobs, there's an opportunity for rich media content as well. So here are a couple of presentations I've given in a few places so people can click on and get the presentations that they like. So that's probably how I would do that. Other questions, we're coming towards the end. I want to show one more thing, then I'm going to open the floor for questions about anything about LinkedIn. One of the things you need to do on a regular basis, and this is very, very important, because if you do not have a premium account, you're only going to be able to see the last 5 people who viewed your profile. So you want to make sure to always click on here and see who's been viewing your profile. Because if somebody views your profile, chances are they're interested in you. So is that somebody here?
That, the first one's me.
Good. So you did the right thing.
No, I know.
You did absolutely the right thing. Okay, but hang on a second. Let's follow this through. Based on what we talked about today, what would be my next step? What do you think I would do after I see this? So I want to connect here, because if I do that, that's actually going to send a connection without personalizing it. What I would do is click on his profile, and then click the connect button, add a note, and then tell him, thank you so much for coming to my LinkedIn purchase session. Because what happens then is it actually syncs to the messages, and whenever somebody sees these in the future, the messages will be there. And when we meet in 10 years when you're president of the United States, I'll be like, hey, you came to my LinkedIn thing, you know me, right? So, but I have that message there, and I have the record of it, and so do you. So I think it's very important to look who's viewing your profile. Because when someone is viewing your profile, that is really a buy signal, and you want to follow up on those buy signals, either a connection or a message or something. And if you don't have premium, it does limit it to the last 5 people who viewed it. So if you're not getting a lot of people viewing it in a day, you check it once a day. If you're getting a lot of people, you probably want to check it more than once a day. Okay? Any questions about anything we spoke about today? A couple people coming up to me afterwards. We'd like to answer your questions individually. Anything about anything we talked about on LinkedIn? Questions you have about LinkedIn we're afraid to ask? Yes?
So just to clarify, if you want to connect to people who have viewed your profile, you want to do it by going to their profile first so that you can leave a note?
Yes, I would always advise you go to the person's profile to make sure that you leave a personalized note that shows why you're connecting with them. But again, if you're doing a cold connection request, that's one thing. If it's a connection that I've already embraced and I tried to engage, that's very, very different. So if I want to connect with Wendy, I'd be looking at her comments and her posts and engaging on those posts for a couple of weeks before I send that connection request, because it's much more likely that she's going to be accepting my connection request after I have done that and engaged with her. Especially as you get up to much more senior vice president type level people, they want to see a reason to actually connect with you, because to connect to lots and lots of other people. Other questions? Yes?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Just want to mention that there's also a quick little resource on tips for connecting, messaging, and networking on LinkedIn. And it gives you some, mini little templates that you can customize when you're reaching out and you're trying to connect with someone. So it's not just, I want to connect with you on LinkedIn. Say something about, models. Don't steal the language. Tweak it and customize it for whoever you're reaching out to, so you know what to say when you make that quick little message to connect with somebody.
Just to show you, there's a message that I sent to Sharon today, because she viewed my profile. Just said, hi Sharon, thank you for viewing my profile. Please let me know how to be of assistance. Now, if she wants something, she'll tell me. If she doesn't, she doesn't. I haven't tried to sell her anything. I said, how can I help you? Look at my profile. There's no reason not to be interactive in that way. And I think it's very effective to be interactive. Do you have a couple more minutes? Any other questions about anything we spoke about? Yes, please.
So for your profile, do you, like, would it be possible to put, like, your ethnicity, or is that, like, a bad idea to do that?
Put your,
Ethnicity?
so there's a place to put ethnicity under job searching. I didn't look this up. There's application settings. Just really testing my stuff here. Self-ID information here, where you can put that. LinkedIn claims that it doesn't share it, but it does potentially share it for employers who want to keep their records in terms of hiring diverse candidate slates. So that's where you would put that. That was a good test, by the way, because I did not prepare that. I have not used that in a couple of years. So I'm glad I was on the spot with that one. But also, for people who are gender fluid, they have the ability to put that under their custom pronouns as well. Other questions? Any other questions? Last question? That was a great last question. Oh, yeah. You want to come? Yeah, go ahead.
No. What I was going to say is, and then featured. So, for example, considering that I'm mathematics/computer science major, I could include maybe software that I worked on.
Sure. Absolutely. In the headline, or potentially the featured, or the summary, all of the above.